find out anything you can mobilize, any equipment you could mobilize it for me. So at that point in time, I was just trying to get my thoughts together to get down there and to mobilize people.
Thank you. So you were trying to mobilize equipment to try and do a rescue if the men were in the pipeline, correct?
I was trying to mobilize any equipment, so it was not specific to if the men were in a pipeline. I had no confirmation. I did not know.
No, but you are the commander.
Yes, sir.
Of the IMT.
Yes, sir.
Emergency.
Correct.
You don't know whether the men in the pipeline,
yes, sir,
or whether the men in the waters.
Yes, sir.
So you have to plan for both, not so?
Correct.
Right. So you were trying to mobilize because if the men were in open waters, you already had divers.
Correct.
LMCS had divers, correct?
Well, they had Mr. Farah. They did not have any other divers.
Okay, but they would have had access to divers.
I was told by Kazim Ali they had divers on the way,
right.
Yes.
So you were trying to mobilize equipment, resources to go into the pipeline if it became necessary.
No, sir, not at that point in time,
not
because I was still trying to figure out. I was not sure.
So. All right. So let's take it in stages then. So then at around 5 to 5:30, Christopher Budram came out of the pipeline.
Correct.
When he came out of the pipeline, were you interested to find out, you must have been interested to find out, if the other divers were in the pipeline?
Yes, I was advised that the other divers were in the pipeline.
And therefore, wouldn't it be immediately, because you said in your affidavit this was a critical and urgent situation?
Yes, sir.
So the other divers were in the pipeline, Christopher Budram came out, right? Were you interested then to get as much information as you could get from Budram to make a decision whether the resources you were trying to get could go into the pipeline?
Well, I was interested to get any information I could get from Mr. Budram. And as I said yesterday, right, Mr. Budram, when he came out of the pipeline, he just kept saying, the men in there, go for them, go for them. We couldn't get any.
Well, let us see what you did, because
okay.
I've looked at the affidavit. I'm sorry, I've looked at the witness statement.
Yes, sir.
And I want to see what you did.
Okay.
Right? So Budram came out of the pipeline at around 5:30 p.m. I know that you said the IMT was meeting, they were discussing and things like that. And then I see at around 8:40 p.m. you contacted Mitchells, and that is at paragraphs 4 and 5 of Fitzroy King affidavit at page 3017. Yes, I think they arrived at the site at 8:40 p.m. I will let you know when contacted them just now. At page 3016,
page
3016, supplemental witness statement. This is Fitzroy King of Mitchells. And he said, at about 4:30 p.m. at paragraph 3:3016, he received a telephone call from Rolls Seas, who he knew as a heritage employer, and then he said he called Ashton Campu, mobilized a Mitchell team, and left Point 14 for Paria and arrived at 8:40 p.m. Correct?
Yes, sir.
And therefore, Mitchell was on standby, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes. And based on Mr. Mitchell's affidavit, Mr. Mitchell's witness statement, according to him, and his next thing is that on Saturday, the 26th of February, paragraph 6, just after 1 a.m., I received a call from Rolseys, who told me to come across to the parallel shipping facility. So he was on standby at 8:40 p.m., and he received a call from Mr. Seals at 1 o'clock in the morning, Saturday morning, to stand by. And then he was at paragraph 7, he was shown a footage. Then he returned to Badger Dock and told to stand by. And then at paragraph 9, at about 2 a.m., Mitchell was told to return to its compound and prepare the decompression chamber. And so as far as I can see from the evidence, that is what Mr. Mitchell did.
Okay.
Right? So, I'm sorry, that's what Mr. Fitzroy King did. So let's go to Eastern Emergency Responses Services, right? And I will look at the affidavit of Andy Johnson, which is witness bundle 1526 at paragraph 6.
No, can I have that page reference?
Page 1526. At paragraph 6, 25th of February 2022, at approximately 23:40 hours, so my maths are not very correct, that will be 11:40?
Correct.
11:40. On Friday, the 25th of February, I received a telephone call from Ms. Arlene Chow in respect. So in effect, he was contacted at 11:40. And then you will see at paragraph 7 what happened. There was a diagram at 11:43. Mr. Patrick King of Heritage contacted him. And then at paragraph 8 at 11:45, he contacted the scheduler and activated the rescue team. And he arrived at PARIA on Saturday morning, just after midnight, probably 12:30, at paragraph 9, arrived at PARIA, and after the checkpoint and etc., and he remained with, look at paragraph 10, he remained with team members, and at approximately 1:25 on Saturday morning, he was briefed by the incident commander, and approximately 2:15 a.m., paragraph 12, boarded the vessel, was taken to the scene, and then at paragraph 13 at 2:35 a.m., the team arrived at berth 6, and then they described what happened, that there was a blockage. So I'm trying to work out the timeline. So you see that's about 2:35 a.m. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Then let's go to OTSL. If you look at paragraph 6 and 8 of Mr. Ian Bertram's witness statement at bundle 2842.
Page number again, sorry.
Sorry, 2841. Supplemental at paragraph 6 and 8, and that would be at page 2842. Paragraph 5, he spoke to OTSL Executive Director at 2841, Mr. Donovan, and asked him to make arrangements, and about 5:30 p.m. or so, gave instruction, but he arrived, he remained in touch with the Gulfstream Eagle. What happened, the boat is the Gulfstream, and the Gulfstream Eagle. It arrived at PARIA at about 8:10 p.m. That's on the Friday.
Okay, sir. Yes.
And was told to dock at berth 6 and was awaiting instruction from PARIA.
Correct.
At about 8:37, OTSL received an email from PARIA's legal counsel and assistant corporate secretary. They wanted an indemnity if lost and etc. OTS was not called upon by PARIA to do anything according to this. And then at paragraph 9, at 5:30 a.m., OTSL was told by PARIA that it was no longer required to be on standby. Correct?
Correct. That is what it says.
And I want to, I should show them anything about OTSL again. No. I want to go to Hull because these are the companies that you said you contacted, right? I want to go to Hull Support Services. Witness bundle, pages 2990 and 2991. At 2991, at paragraph 6, I did call Andy back at about 5:30 p.m. and told him that most of the fellows had left for the day and others had family arrangements. But I will keep trying. He told me he would call me back and to give me more information. And to put that in context, you would have seen at paragraph 5, at about 4:30 p.m. while in office, he received a call from Andy Fortune, who is a Heritage Marine lead. And then, as far as Friday was concerned, at paragraph 7, I later learned that Royal Seal did contact Hull's diving manager, Anthony Nivet, and Hull provided a decompression chamber. I was in fact part of the crew and operationalized the chamber, even though it was not needed by PARIA. And then if you go to paragraph 12, Andy told me that the incident command team did not want anyone to go into the pipeline. Andy did not request assistance from Hull in relation to any rescue.
Okay, that's what it says.
Yeah. The Hummingbird was contacted at 10:50 a.m. on Friday. Let's go to, 10:50 p.m. on Friday. And it was contacted by Michael Wee. And at paragraph 107, witness bundle, page 1290.
So this is the next agency, is it? Hummingbird.
Yes, Hummingbird. It's at paragraph.
It's at 107.
Yeah, paragraph 107.
Page?
Page 1290. At paragraph 107. According to that, he was conducted at 10:50 p.m. Yeah. And Catherine Balkisoon, at paragraph 31 of a witness statement at page 1333, said that the pipeline crawler went in at 3 a.m. on Saturday. I'll show you that. Have you got Catherine Balkisoon? At paragraph 1333, at page 1333, paragraph 31. There's what she said, that at 3 a.m. on Saturday, the crawler went in. Is that correct?
That is what it says, sir.
Yeah. And have you found it, Mr. Chairman?
No. Page
1333. Volume 4.
All right.
At paragraph 31.
Yep. Got it.
Yes. Then I want to refer to what Mr. Michael Y. Wee stated in respect of the pushrod camera and etc. So if we look at witness bundle 1289 at paragraphs 104 and 105.
Yep.
You would see there that according to what is stated, prior to Hummingbird being contacted at 9 p.m., a pushrod camera with operating crew arrived from Atlantic LNG at 9 p.m., but that camera was not inserted until 3 hours later at midnight.
Okay, so that's what it says. I can explain
Okay.
when you're ready.
I will go to your affidavit.
Of course.
And in your affidavit, at paragraph 134, page 1369, you said that Atlantic LNG arrived at 11 p.m. on the Friday night with the pushrod camera. Now, in your statement, you mentioned Krishna Fontes. So I want to point out to you what the evidence showed of Fontes, right?
Okay.
I'm suggesting to you that there is no evidence that Krishna Fontes was on site prior to 4 p.m. on Sunday. And I say that because I want to point out, in your witness statement at paragraph 208, at page 1381, you said, I was told by Mustaq that the documents presented by LMCS were reviewed by the TTCJ, Krishna Fontes, and Rolf Seal, all of whom indicated that LMCS proposal was too risky and advised that we should not proceed with the dive proposed by LMCS. So this would have been on Sunday.
Correct.
Now, we know from the evidence so far, and the reference is Witness Bundle 13, paragraph 33, that the Coast Guard came originally to do an open water search for the divers, and based on the intervention of Commander Mirage, the Coast Guard was redirected to Stobbles Bay to pick up a dive crew and equipment. And that dive crew and equipment arrived at Paria, I think about 8:30 to 9 p.m.
Okay.
on the Friday. Now, as the commander of the IMT, when Christopher Budram, I will take it from there, when Christopher Budram came out of the pipeline, did the IMT have a kind of timeline that if they had to do a rescue in the pipeline, how many hours they had in order to ensure that the men would survive? Do you have you had a timeline? 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours? Saturday morning, Sunday morning? What timeline you had?
Right. So when Mr. Budram came out of the pipeline, right, immediately we recognized we did not know the conditions in the pipeline, right? That was understood. We simply did not know. At the time, we weren't sure what had happened in the incident, what caused the incident.
Forgive me for interrupting you, but we have heard all of this many times.
Oh, okay, sir.
I would like you to address the question that's being asked. Did you have a timeline?
We knew if there was any air pocket, any air pocket, there would be vapors in it. So we knew it would be a vapor space. We also knew all they will have other than that would be their air bottles, and that would give them maybe a couple hours. So that was the timeline we understood.
And a couple of hours would have been?
Well, but 3 hours at the most, yes.
3 hours. So he came out at around 5 to 5:30, and
yes,
the
sir.
timeline you would have given yourself was about, given the IMT,
Yes,
would
sir.
have been about 2 to 3 hours.
Yes, that is what we thought, but there was no way to tell
I know.
definitively.
Just a minute. He'd already been in the pipeline for nearly 3 hours.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, did you factor that in?
Yes, sir.
The air that might have been available to them was being used up in that time?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I suppose the question really is did you have, from the moment of the incident, leave aside for a moment Mr. Budram's heroics, leaving that to one side, the incident you knew had happened at about 2:45 that afternoon.
Correct.
And really, was there a timeline from then? So we start at 2:45. We know 5 men have gone missing. We don't know where they are at that stage.
Correct.
So we're searching the ocean. We don't find anything in the ocean at all, which is pretty extraordinary. I would have thought within a half an hour even of doing that, that you would find nothing at all. So you start to think about other alternatives, presumably.
Yes.
So I think what Mr. Maharaj is asking you is, did you start to say, well, we've got from then maybe a couple of hours, forget whether he went into the pipe or not, a couple of hours to find these guys, otherwise they're going to drown and die.
Yes, sir.
You must have had that in mind.
Yes,
right?
of course.
And then, like a moment of salvation for everybody, Budram comes out of the pipe. Mm-hmm. You must have thought renewed hope.
Of course, yes,
Because
sir.
at that point,
yes,
you might
sir.
have been thinking, well, they're all dead anyway. So when he comes out of the pipe, you must have truly thought renewed hope.
Yes.
And what timeline, now that you know beyond peradventure that they are in the pipe, what timeline did you apply to that?
Right, so,
If at all.
well, again, just to repeat, we knew they would have had their air bottles, they would have been in a vapor space, you know, we would have maybe estimated, listen, maybe 3, 4 hours, 5, you know. Of course, everybody was in hope.
3,
Mr. Budram,
4,
yeah,
maybe
only
5 hours. From
Everybody-
when? From when he
from when-
emerged or from when it
From when
happened?
Mr. Budram came out, we simply didn't know, but we understood we had to work quickly.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
Help me this. I asked Ms. Balkasoon this question.
Yeah.
I think I did, anyway. Was any attempt made to calculate the amount of space that would have been necessary within the pipe to sustain 4 men now, and how much that would be by way of volume in the pipe? Do you follow the question I'm asking you? So 1 man per hour,
Yeah.
breathing X amount of vapor space, let's hope as much air as was breathable, but what was the sort of outer limit? Did you try and make any sort of estimate of what the outer limit might have been? I mean, apart from a guess. I mean, presumably it's something that is calculable.
Right. At that point in time, we didn't calculate anything. At that point in time, we were just really saying, listen, this is a vapor space. We looked at the air bottles and so on. You know, if one man had one air bottle per man, if even one man had maybe 2 air bottles. So that was the sort of limits we were given, 3, 4, 5 hours at the most. But we did not attempt to calculate it because we had limited information at the time.
But you realised you knew that there were air pockets or vapour pockets within the pipeline because you've been told that.
Yes, sir.
Right. So it was simply a question at that stage, wasn't it? Well, how much air per man per hour? It's a calculable number, isn't it?
Of course, and again, no, we didn't. Well, it was just guesswork at that time. It was just we could only estimate in as much information we had, and the only information we would have had would have been the air tanks. We didn't know the vapor space. We simply didn't have that information at the time.
I follow that, but you see, you knew how much was in the pipeline by way of oil before it started, and you knew how much you'd pumped out. Well, you should have known.
Well, we didn't know. I did not know at the time. Did you have a look at
the records that you were shown yesterday by Mr. Maharaj?
No, not at that time,
no.
Sir. Yes.
At any time during the IMT, did you look to see, well, how much has been pumped out of this pipe?
Yeah.
So what is the best guess that we can make as to the amount of air that could be in it?
Yeah. Right. So, no, I did not look at that record. Right. At the time, I didn't know we had that record at the time, and I did not know how much oil was left. I did not know how much water. I did not know how much vapor space. I simply did not know. I
appreciate you didn't know, but what you're saying is that you didn't look.
No, sir, not on that night. I did not look.
You didn't look to see whether there was any records kept by your own company as to the amount of oil that there might have been in the pipeline at any time.
No, sir, I did not look.
Because it's maths, isn't it? You know the amount of volume that is in that pipe. Mm-hmm. You could calculate how much oil has been pumped out of it if it were full. That would leave X amount of space potentially for air. Mm-hmm. That is a certain amount which you could then calculate per man. So here's our best outside limit, 6 hours, let's say. We've got to act within 6 hours or not at all.
Yes, sir, yes, I didn't calculate it.
No. You think it would have been a good idea, wouldn't it? Would have informed you as to what needed to be done in the time available.
Well, again, it may have been a guide, but we simply, we understood, listen, this was only a few hours. We understood that. This was a few hours.
Mm-hmm. Are you saying that realistically, once 5 hours had passed, it was too late?
I could not say that definitively, sir. We were working here with, we were working at what is the best. We were hoping for the best. So I could not say
diminishing returns, though, isn't it? Come on.
It is diminishing returns, yes,
sir. As each minute passes, so the chances or the prospects
of course
of saving anybody diminishes.
Of course.
And there is an outer limit, and that outer limit was potentially calculable.
Yes, sir.
You were working on the premise of what, 5 hours as a maximum?
I was working maybe 5 hours, maybe midnight at the outside. That was what I would have been working with.
Midnight at the outside?
Yeah, I was working.
But I mean, realistically, that would have been, what, 9 hours after the event?
Yeah.
I mean...
Of course, working with hope, sir.
Sorry?
Well, yeah, expecting... Okay, realistically, in my mind, maybe 4 or 5 hours. Realistically, maybe 6 at the outside. Sir.
6 from his emerging from Budram emerging from the pipe.
Well, with Mr. Budram emerging from the pipe, of course, we would have had a renewed hope.
Well, that's what I said.
Right. So yeah.
But I mean, realistically, you see, the only reason why I'm asking it, and it follows on from what Mr. Maharaj was asking about a timeline, is that surely a timeline informs you about how to approach any potential rescue.
Correct.
In the sense that, well, let's assume you say, as I gathered from your evidence, we need to know more about the pipeline, so we're going to get a camera.
Right.
That was a clear
Correct.
policy
Correct.
decision,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
We're going to get a camera. If the man tells you, who has the camera, it's going to take me 5 hours to get the camera in there, that informs, well, it's too late to actually do anything by way of a rescue relying on any camera. So you have to think of plan B, don't you?
Yes, sir.
That I think, is where we're at. So
Okay.
the timeline as to the realistic prospects of successfully rescuing anyone has to be at the forefront of any decision made about what you're going to do. Cameras, equipment, people, etc. Yes?
Right. Yes,
Was it at the forefront?
Of course, it has to be. It can't be any other way. But we simply did not know how long. We simply did not know. At that point in time, we were guessing. At that point in time, we could only estimate, as I said.
Mr. Piper, I read in your command system that the first priority is to save human lives. And when I look at the
Sorry,
time,
we're going to have to rise for a couple of minutes right now. Thank you. Rise. Well, so just rise for a few minutes and find out what the position is. Sorry about that. Yes, of course, by all means, go ahead. I think it's very stuffy in here.